My ex-wife lied about a guy named Absay just so she could take my son away from me. So, in response, I sent every bit of evidence I had about her affair straight to her lover's father. That blew everything up. She ended up losing her job, has no place to live now, and basically hit rock bottom. The past few months have been complete hell for me. I wouldn't wish this on anyone, except her. I've come to truly hate her. I mean, I never thought I'd feel this kind of anger toward someone I once loved. She's hands down the most vicious, heartless person I've ever had the misfortune to know. And I still can't figure out how I ever got fooled into falling for someone like that. Maybe she's just good at hiding who she really is. It's like she shut off the evil part of herself and acted like this sweet, caring woman for years. Or maybe she really was good once, and somewhere along the line, she turned into someone completely different. I honestly don't know. And yeah, maybe I'm rambling here, but I've got to get this off my chest. I haven't had anyone to talk to. I haven't been able to lean on anybody. All our friends took her side, every single one of them. And that's all her doing. So here's the backstory. I'm a 44-year-old guy, and I got married to a woman I'll call Pamika, or Jess, just to keep it anonymous. She's 39 now. We met about 15 years ago at a club and hit it off right away. Dated for a couple years, then tied the knot. From what I remember, things were honestly great in the beginning. No red flags, no drama. Even her family seemed normal and nice. Looking back, I don't think I missed any warning signs because there weren't any. It all felt better than fine. Right after we got married, Jess got pregnant. We had our son, Tom. He's 14 now. That first year after Tom was born, I started noticing something was different about her. It was subtle at first. I assumed it was postpartum depression, which made sense. That was a rough patch in our marriage. I didn't know how to help her through it. I was doing my best, but I wasn't perfect. I'll admit that. Years later, she told me she had felt alone and unsupported back then, even though she knew I was trying. I respected her honesty. We talked it through and I thought we'd worked past it. But honestly, deep down, I always felt like she still held it against me, no matter how much she insisted she didn't. Not long after Tom turned 1, she told me, real blunt out of nowhere, that she didn't want more kids. That caught me completely off guard because we'd always talked about having a big family. There was no discussion, no conversation, just a flat-out no. I could feel the coldness growing between us around that time, and I didn't want to push it further, so I let it go. I figured, she's the one who went through pregnancy and childbirth, so maybe it wasn't my place to fight her on it. But man, it hurt. I'd always pictured a house full of kids, and now that dream was dead. Still, I accepted it. If that was going to be my life, I'd adjust. Despite the bumps we hit early on, I thought we were a solid family. At least, that's the story I told myself. Jess had quit her job after we got married because she wanted to stay home with Tom. But when he turned 5, she said she wanted to get back to work. I wasn't totally on board at first. We didn't have any family nearby to help out, and daycare wasn't cheap. But we sat down, ran the numbers, and realized we could make it work. She told me that more than money, she just needed to feel like herself again. Said she'd lost her identity being a full-time mom, and she was slipping into a really dark mental space. That hit me hard. I dropped all my objections and supported her decision. And to my surprise, working actually made her happier. She was more energetic, more involved with Tom, and she just seemed lighter. I had worried that going back to work would stress her out, but it did the opposite. It helped her. I was proud of her, honestly. I had no idea that this same job would end up tearing everything apart. Then COVID came. A bunch of people at her company got laid off. It was a small local place with mostly older staff. Eventually, a bigger firm bought them out and replaced most of the original employees. Jess was lucky enough to keep her job, but everything switched to remote work. First, she hated it. She couldn't get the hang of the new workplace culture, and she'd vent about it all the time. I even told her, if it's that bad, just quit. But she didn't want to be unemployed. There weren't many jobs out there, and she was dead set on not going back to staying at home. Slowly, she adjusted to the new setup, and things seemed to smooth out again. By late 2022, her job had gone hybrid. Within a few months, everyone was expected to be back in the office. At least that's what she told me. I had no reason to doubt her. But after she started commuting again, things started shifting. She'd come home late, worn out, always tired. I asked what was going on and she just chalked it up to a heavy workload. That sounded believable, so I didn't press too hard. Whenever she had a spare moment, she poured all of it into Tom. It felt like we weren't a couple anymore, we were just two people living in the same house, barely interacting. I tried to bring it up. I wanted to fix things. I mentioned counseling. I booked trips. I tried talking to her, really opening up. But none of it made a difference. She just brushed it off, laughed it off. Told me I needed to accept that she was getting older and things weren't going to be the same anymore. Underscore 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 underscore. Jess had this way of making me believe I was the one messing things up. She was a master manipulator, so subtle with it that I didn't even realize I was being gaslight. Over time, I actually started thinking maybe I was the bad guy just for wanting us to have a healthy, loving marriage. So I stopped pushing. I let things ride on the surface. But deep down, it was eating me alive. Something felt off. I couldn't explain it and I didn't have a single shred of proof, but I knew in my gut that something wasn't right. And I had to find out what it was. I hate admitting this, but last year, I started snooping through her phone. I checked it daily for about 2, maybe 3 months straight. I was expecting to find some sign of an affair or anything shady. I looked through her texts, emails, call history, every little thing. But I came up with nothing. Not a single red flag. And yet, the more I checked, the more I wanted to find something, because if I did, then maybe I wouldn't feel so guilty about all the suspicion swirling in my head. Still, day after day, it was the same, nothing. After a few months, it hit me, maybe I was just being paranoid. Maybe this was just what marriage looked like after so many years together. It wasn't perfect, not even close, but it didn't seem like there was anything actively wrong. So I backed off. I stopped overthinking everything she did. I stopped driving myself nuts analyzing every little change in her behavior. And honestly, things felt calmer. 2023 was actually okay. We started spending more time together. Some of the tension lifted. I thought maybe, just maybe, we were turning a corner. I let myself believe the worst was behind us. I couldn't have been more wrong. In February of this year, I decided to do something sweet for Jess. I figured I'd surprise her at work with her favorite flowers. I even checked with her that morning to make sure she'd be in the office, and she told me yes, absolutely, she'd be there. So I showed up at her workplace feeling kind of excited. But when I got there, the receptionist looked at me like I had two heads. She said Jess wasn't in that day. I asked when she might be back, and she just looked confused and asked what I needed from her. I explained I was Jess's husband and had just come by to surprise her and politely asked that she not mention anything to Jess. That's when everything shifted. Her expression changed like she knew something I didn't. And I felt it in my gut. I knew right then and there this wasn't going to end well. The receptionist, we'll call her Claire, told me Jess didn't work in the office Mondays through Wednesdays. She only came in on Thursdays and Fridays. I blinked, stunned. I told Claire Jess had been going into the office 5 days a week ever since COVID restrictions lifted. But Claire told me the office had a hybrid schedule now and no one worked full-time on-site anymore. I just stood there stunned. I had no clue what to say. I asked her again not to tell Jess I'd stopped by and she promised she wouldn't. Then she slid me a piece of paper with a car license plate number on it. She said I might want to keep an eye out for it. And that was it. I knew exactly what she was hinting at, but I still couldn't bring myself to believe it. I didn't want to accept the truth that was staring me in the face because it meant the life I thought I had was over. I thanked her and walked out of there with my mind spinning. Over the next few days, I followed Jess. I didn't want to, I needed to. It didn't take long. Within a week, I caught her. I saw her driving to the same house over and over again with some guy. I didn't even bother trying to figure out who he was. It didn't matter. I knew. By that point, I was completely numb. I didn't feel rage. I didn't feel heartbreak. I just wanted it all to stop. When she came home from work one night, I sat her down and told her straight I knew everything. I told her I wanted a divorce. I said she had 1 week to pack her things and leave the house. She acted like I'd lost my mind. Started laughing in that weird, shaky way where someone's trying to hold on to control. Told me I was imagining things, that none of it was true, that I was being crazy. But I didn't flinch. I told her again I knew. I told her I wasn't falling for it this time. I wasn't going to be manipulated anymore. The marriage was over. That's when she snapped. Her whole demeanor changed. She started yelling, throwing things, crying, begging, blaming. She went through every phase of meltdown in a matter of minutes. Told me I couldn't do this to her. Said she hadn't done anything wrong. Said she wouldn't let me walk away. She screamed like a banshee and I wanted to scream right back, but I didn't. I didn't have the strength anymore. I just sat there and let her rage. She kept trying to provoke me, trying to get a rise out of me. But I didn't give her what she wanted. And when she realized she couldn't get to me anymore, she just lost it. She slammed her head into the wall. Hard. I panicked and rushed over to stop her. She tried to do it again. That's when I knew I couldn't handle her alone. I called the police. The next 10 minutes felt like an eternity. She was out of her mind, crying, shaking, completely unhinged. It's hard to even talk about. When the cops got there, I told them everything, what I'd seen, what I suspected, and that I didn't feel safe with her staying in the house. They asked if I had any family nearby, and I told them no. That's when Jess said she'd go stay with Liam. That's the guy she was seeing. Her affair partner. Fine by me. She left that night. What made everything worse was that Tom, our son, had been upstairs the whole time. He heard it all. Every scream, every slam, every bit of it. He's a smart kid, way more mature than most his age, but he's still just a boy. No child should ever be exposed to something like that. Underscore 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 underscore. I sat down with him for a long, emotional conversation. Tears were definitely shed. I did my best to be fair to Jess in the way I handled everything. Honestly, I really believed the worst was behind me. Within a few days, I filed for divorce, and to my surprise, Jess didn't put up a fight. She actually cooperated. I still can't say for sure how that made me feel. On one hand, it was a relief she wasn't making it harder than it had to be. But on the other hand, I felt a deep sadness, like she didn't even care enough to fight for us. She accepted it so fast, it was like she'd been waiting for the chance to walk away. I didn't have much choice but to accept what was happening and move on. What I didn't realize at the time was that while I was coming to terms with it all, Jess was busy spinning lies about me nonstop. She was turning everyone I knew against me. She painted me as the villain in our marriage, said I was abusive, violent, controlling. She even twisted an accident where she banged her head on the wall into a story that I had grabbed her by the neck and slammed her face into it. She spread these lies everywhere, among our friends, on social media, and worst of all, in court. Before I even knew what was happening, my reputation was trashed. Friends I'd known for years completely turned their backs on me. It's scary how quickly people will believe a man is an abuser, no questions asked. I was stunned. I never imagined Jess would sink so low. But she was clearly out for blood. It felt like she wouldn't stop until there was nothing left of me. When it came to the custody battle, she used those same lies to argue I was a threat to her and our son, Tom. She demanded full custody, and of course, I was ordered to pay child support. Tom didn't want to go along with it. He asked for alternate weekends so he could see me more, but for reasons I still don't understand, the judge sided with her. Jess got full custody and I was granted visitation on weekends. I didn't mind the child support, that wasn't the issue. What crushed me was the thought of her taking Tom away. He was all I had left. My marriage was gone. My friends had disappeared. And now she was trying to take my son, too. I tried to tell my side of the story, but it was like talking to a brick wall. Everyone had already made up their minds. She was the poor, helpless victim, and I was the monster who ruined everything. I couldn't see it at the time, but looking back, all of this would eventually help me. Right then, though, all I felt was pure rage. My world was falling apart. Nothing made sense anymore, and I honestly didn't see the point of anything. Tom was fed up with his mom, too. I think once he saw how low she'd stoop, he stopped respecting her altogether. And then, just 2 weeks after everything was finalized, he sent me something that flipped the entire situation on its head. I had always known she was cheating, and I knew the guy's name. They worked together, and that was about all I'd cared to find out. I never went digging. But Tom, my brilliant kid, found himself right in the middle of things while staying with Jess and her new man. And he decided to take action. 2 weeks after the dust settled, I got an email from him that hit me like a truck. Inside, Tom had laid out everything, who the guy really was and how badly they were trying to cover up the affair. Apparently, the fallout would have been brutal for both of them if the truth got out. Jess had been lying to her coworkers, saying we were already separated and heading for divorce while the affair was going on. Tom overheard that and passed it along to me. But the kicker? The guy Liam was the son of the company's owner. Yeah. Rich, connected, and now caught in the middle of a scandal. The best part, at least from where I stood, was that Liam's dad had no clue about the affair or the chaos Jess had caused. He was totally in the dark. And for me, that was way too much leverage to ignore. If this had played out differently, if Jess hadn't dragged my name through the mud, I might have just let them be. But she didn't just hurt me. She tried to destroy me. She wanted me isolated, broken, even from my own kid. So yeah, I was done being the nice guy. It was time she got a taste of her own medicine. Sure, it could backfire. But honestly, I had nothing left to lose. Jess and Liam were already fighting, though Tom didn't know the details. I told him he'd done more than enough. I didn't want him caught in the middle of all this any longer. He's just a kid. He shouldn't be gathering evidence for his dad to use against his mom. That's not fair to him. I never wanted any of this for him. I really did try to hold the family together for as long as I could. But I couldn't stay married to a cheater. So I took everything, photos, proof, emails, and sent it all to Liam's father. I kept the message respectful, said I'd prefer to talk before he made any decisions, but I made it clear what was going on. Now, I'm just waiting to see if he'll respond. If I don't hear back soon, I'll find another way to reach him. I'm not about to let them walk away from this clean, not after what Jess did to me. She needs to know how it feels to be shunned, to lose everything like I did. Liam's dad finally replied. Well, more likely his assistant or legal team. The email was stiff and professional, nothing personal at all. For a while there, I thought they'd ignore it and I'd never get the closure or the revenge I was after. But instead, they asked to meet. He or someone on his behalf invited me to a restaurant nearby after 5 p.m. The message just said, Mr. Ramastans would like to meet you regarding your email. I wasn't sure if anything would come of it, but I had to find out. I really didn't want to go. I had this gut feeling it'd be a complete waste of time. It all felt like a dead end. But I pushed myself to show up anyway, and looking back now, I'm glad I did. Things are finally starting to take a turn and it's about to get real interesting. At first, sitting there with him was painfully awkward. It honestly felt like one of the weirdest conversations I've ever had. But eventually, the silence broke and we started talking. I laid everything out, told him everything I knew about Jess and Liam's affair. I didn't hold back on the details, especially about how I found out. But I kept Claire out of it. I wasn't sure if Mr. Ramastans was on my side, and I didn't want Claire getting burned for sticking her neck out for me. He listened carefully, only chiming in now and then with a question or two. His face gave nothing away, stone-cold calm, impossible to read. Once I'd finished, he said he'd handle things personally. That set me off a bit. I pressed him, was something actually going to happen? Or was this going to be swept under the rug like everything else? I told him straight up, if he didn't plan on doing anything, that was fine, but I deserved to know. I'd had enough of false hope. I just wanted to know if there was even a shot at getting justice. My wife betrayed me. The court system turned its back on me. Even the people I called friends walked away. I needed to know if this was the end of the line or if someone finally had my back. Mr. Ramastans let out a heavy sigh, looked me dead in the eye and told me he understood. He said he'd hold Jess and his son accountable. He mentioned their firm had a strict policy against inter-office relationships, and since Jess broke that rule, there'd be real consequences. As for Liam, he said he was done covering for him. He couldn't keep defending his son's reckless, womanizing behavior. I told him, even though I couldn't stand the guy, Jess and Liam had been seeing each other for 2 years. That's when Mr. Ramastans hit me with something that made me want to laugh and cry at the same time. Liam had a fiancée. Yeah, a woman he'd been engaged to for 5 years, living in another city, and he saw her every week from Thursday to Sunday. Everything with Jess? Just a sideshow. A lie. The man was living a double life. Mr. Ramastans said the fiancée was a genuinely kind woman and he'd make sure she didn't get hurt any more than she already had. He kept telling me not to worry, that he'd take care of it. And he promised me, plain and simple, that while my wife, the legal system, and even my friends had all let me down, he wouldn't. I walked out of that meeting feeling something I hadn't felt in a long time: relief. Now I'm just bracing for the storm that's coming. The anticipation is eating at me, but in a weird way it's giving me a rush. As for Tom, he has no idea what I've done with all this information. He's just a kid. He doesn't need to be dragged into the chaos. I keep things light with him, pretend like everything's fine. But I can tell he's not happy. I've tried bringing up therapy more than once, but Jess keeps shooting it down. So I'm stuck. I've got a visit with him coming up and I'm seriously thinking about signing him up for therapy myself, quietly. He needs someone to talk to. I don't want him losing hope just because his mom turned out to be someone she shouldn't have been. He's too young to carry that kind of pain. And honestly, if I can't shield him from that, I'll feel like I've failed him as a father. Well, the dam finally broke and I'm here for the mess. Just called asking if I could take Tom for the week because something had come up at work. Right then, I knew what was happening. So I picked Tom up and that's when the real fun began. About 3 days into having Tom with me, Jess called again. This time she was panicked. Said she'd lost her job and had nowhere to stay. I asked her what she meant by that and she danced around it, just said things were bad and asked if she could crash at my place. I actually laughed. Told her she should have thought twice before throwing out those false assault and abuse claims. Then she hit me with, "Liam told me to do it." I'm so sorry. What she didn't realize was that I had been recording the whole call. I needed the confession on record. As soon as I had what I needed, I sent the audio to a few mutual friends. And wouldn't you know it, the apologies started rolling in like waves. I'd already told her she wasn't welcome in my home. Maybe she reached out to other folks, but far as I know, no one took her in. If she's really got nowhere to go, I'm guessing things with Liam fell apart. Not sure why, maybe it's the fiancé, maybe Mr. Romiston stepped in. Either way, Jess is in a rough place now. Just like I was a few weeks ago. Having Tom around again has done wonders for my sanity. We're spending time together and he actually seems at ease. I'm planning to talk to my lawyer again about custody. Jess doesn't have a job or a place to live. How's she supposed to care for him? And with that recorded confession, I might finally have a shot at getting full custody. I don't know for sure yet, but I won't stop fighting for him. Not now. I can't share too much since things are still in motion legally, but here's what I can say. Tom told the court he wants to live with me. This time, the judge actually seems willing to listen to him. My lawyer had a talk with Jess's attorney and laid it out clearly. We've got her confession on tape. If she tries anything shady, we're taking it to court. Funny thing is, she's suddenly being real cooperative. A little too cooperative if you ask me. She's even trying to get back together with me. But that ship? Long gone. She's staying with a friend now, don't know who, don't care. Serves her right, honestly. She needs to sit with what she did. She thought she had it all figured out, the divorce, the job, the fling. But it all fell apart in just a matter of weeks. Now she gets to live with the consequences, just like I had to. Let her stew in that regret. I'm done.